you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate you guys coming by. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mother-in-law, because she wanted her daughter to marry Bob. And Bob went on to be that great stockbroker that made all that money, won the lottery and all that good stuff, and you're just trying to play catch-up. Anyway, guys, refer to the Chris Voss Show. Maybe that'll make her happy. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. As always, we have the most amazing authors on the show coming out with the most amazing books and the great stories that you want to share, whether they're nonfiction or fiction. They're just going to amaze you and blow your minds. Today we have Alan R. Martin on the show with us today. His latest book is out January 9th, 2023, called A Town's Nightmare, which I believe is a biography on me growing up in my town and city, terrorizing it. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what it's about. It's a novel about whatever. We're going to get into what it's about. Alan grew up, his mother was German and his father was Irish. He didn't meet his mother, but his father met his mother while stationed in Germany as a soldier in the army. Growing up on the base, he usually played sports. He got into writing and retired from the state of Missouri. And he doesn't necessarily call himself a writer, but he has no formal training in journalism or any type of editing. He's never been to college or held a job around in English courses or extensive writing. He usually calls himself a storyteller. His education, I'm converting this here, to third party, extends to a high school diploma in trade classes, and his experience in the form of electrical, heating, cooling, and commercial construction. Welcome to the show, Alan. How are you?
Oh, just peachy keen there.
Peachy keen. You gotta love being peachy keen. That's the best way to be. You might be the first person to come on the show in 16 years, 2,000 episode who said they are peachy keen. Maybe that should be a keen. Maybe that should be a title for your next book or something. Peachy King, the murder in Westminster. I don't know. Sounded like a good title.
Well, maybe in a peach orchard.
You never know. Put it in Georgia. They like peaches down there. So give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interweb, sir?
Yeah, they can find me on the website at alanrmartinauthor.com.
And give us a 30,000 overview. This is your second book that you've put out, correct?
Right.
Give us a 30,000 overview, if you would, please.
30,000 overview?
Just a general... What the hell did you write here? I'm just kidding.
Oh.
What's in the book?
I actually started out as a short story, and I was writing short stories. And you got to get a certain amount of short stories, the number of them, to actually make a book.
That's true. Lots of short stories.
Yeah, I mean, you can range anywhere from about 10 pages to about 25 pages, but hey, that's a short story, okay? Mm-hmm. So you have to, if you don't have nothing else to write about it, you just go on to the next story. Mm-hmm. This story was actually wrote with the short stories, and before I knew it, I had about 25 pages of it, and I just got up and started thinking about it, and said, I think I want to make a novel out of this.
Oh.
So it took me probably a couple of years to write this. It's very intense. You have a lot of actors in here, which sometimes I get confused on the years and sometimes on the characters.
Mm.
Because I think I listed about over 20 characters in that story. So.
Oh wow! In the book.
Yeah. It's in the book. I had to make a cast of characters in the back, and I gave them a job description,
Mm-hmm.
and the page number where they were first found.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, time periods. I had to actually create the time periods because of this. Actually, they told stories going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1857, they told stories all the way back to, they mentioned 1815, but it was a short.
Short story. So in your new book, give us an overview of a town's nightmare. How would you describe this in kind of a short summary so that people can kind of get an idea of what's inside?
If they like suspense and mystery,
Mm-hmm.
that it actually kind of starts out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the page on, I think it was page 5 or something, that the first murder was actually committed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a butcher in a shop, and his wife was calling for him, and he was up there on the rafters, hung, with his eyes out. And,
so he was dead, huh?
Yeah, and anyway, she started screaming in the town, which woke up the citizens, and they wanted to see what all the commotion was about. So the sheriff, they had a sheriff, believe it or not. There was a population of 327 people, but they did have a sheriff, and I'll get into that later. But
okay. And so it's a mystery then. We know that. What made you want to write the book? What motivated you about the story? How did it come to you?
I wanted to write something that put fear in the people. I wanted to fear the bejeebies out of them.
All right.
That's the reason why the book, it actually mentions there was a curse on that town.
Mm-hmm.
And the curse was basically brought on by the Baptists,
mm-hmm.
which when he passed away in 1817, he went ahead and made a bargain with the dark one.
Oh, the devil. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he says to the devil that if anybody changes this denomination, my Catholic denomination, to any other denomination, I give you, it's like I give you a promise,
Uh-huh.
that you have. That's a bad word, but anyways, he allowed the devil to go ahead and every 10 years go ahead and take 10 people.
Oh, really? From his congregation?
Yeah, it was basically because even after he was dead, the curse still lingered on.
Oh, really? That's a hell of a curse.
Yeah, the devil, he's going to take whatever he can. So
yeah,
if he made this, I could put it in better words if I look at something. Let me see something here. I don't know where in the heck I put it. Oh, here it is. The story tells about the townspeople
mm-hmm.
and the curse that was released upon it
mm-hmm.
in the late months of 1839, when Pastor Matthew made an announcement to the congregation that he suggested and wanted to change the denomination from Catholic to Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
That was when the terror began its countdown.
So do you like writing for terror? For horror? Scary? All that stuff?
Let's say it's a influence.
An influence.
Yeah. I can write some other stuff, but to me it's kind of boring.
Kind of boring. So tell us a little bit about yourself in your words. I kind of covered some of it in the bio, but people like to hear it from the author themselves. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up. When did you get interested in writing short stories? When did you get interested in writing books?
When I retired from the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
That's a funny question.
Were you writing up until then? Were you writing kind of like some people write as kids or something?
No.
They'll have some early influences.
No, nothing like that. It was actually the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I retired at 58 and a half, I took their retirement plan.
Uh-huh.
And
58 and a half, you started writing.
yeah, no, I started writing it about 6 months later, because during that 6 month time, I didn't know what to do with myself.
Uh-huh.
So I said, what is there that I need help with?
Uh-huh.
I wanted to get some help with some kind of a category.
Uh-huh.
And I said to myself, how about words? So when I started playing around with words, I started to realize that I was actually on pen and the notepad when I was writing some of these short stories,
Uh-huh.
because I didn't have a computer at the time.
Uh-huh.
And anyways, that's how I started. And it was probably about another 6 months before I started getting a little more confidence on what I was writing.
Uh-huh.
And it's been probably 6 to 8 months before I started creating writing, and that's the reason why the first book, Windows Open, has got like over 33 short stories.
Oh, wow.
Because I couldn't carry on from the story that I told.
Oh, yeah. So you're able to, your first book was a book of short stories. This one's a full-length novel, correct?
Yeah.
And you start writing 58. Congratulations. That's everyone has a restart date. I think KFC, the guy who made KFC chicken, started in his 50s. Oprah, I think, started in her 50s. There's a lot of people who started their most successful projects late in life. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. What do you love about writing? What does it do for you? What do you enjoy?
What I enjoy about it is the possibilities of creating something new and different. Mm-hmm. So they say I have quite a few people out there that say I have my own way of writing that's unique. Mm-hmm. And I say, I'm not a writer. So you're calling me a writer, and I'm not a writer.
You have books. You have 2 books out. I think you're a writer at this point. I think we can officially.
Well, actually, I got 3 books out now.
Oh, okay. See, now even more, you're a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost Stories Found is the 3rd book.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about the 2nd book, right?
We're talking about A Town's Nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, to verify a few things that I left out on this town, and I'll give some insight to it, is that for Bishop Hendrick Elias Leckner, that's the Catholic priest, made a pact with the devil in the month of April, and the year was 1817. He was a devoted Catholic, and his beliefs were strictly to the Catholic faith.
Uh-huh.
And his sectarian, of course. This bishop was so obsessed with his philosophical doctrine that he made this sacrifice to the dark spirit of lies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this agreement allowed the devil to terrorize the people in the town. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got trouble reading between the lines, and
yeah. So, is there a protagonist in the book that they've got to figure all this stuff out and all that stuff and do battle to win whatever?
Yeah, it's what I call a theme of fear, and unity.
Huh.
And the unity comes in because the townspeople got together as a group. And they've really never done that before, because they had to come as a group and collect information and see what was actually transpiring. And if they knew anything about the victims. And they never caught or even seen a backside of him as he entered through a wall.
Oh, killer?
Yeah, so he's actually what I call, let me see here. He's actually called, what I call him is the angel of death.
Ah, the angel of death. That's definitely is a killer.
Yeah.
I don't want to meet that guy anytime soon. It's my policy. It's my policy. I'm not returning his calls, and I don't answer the door. That's what I do. In your book, you're writing in the novels. Of course, there's not much we can give away because we want people to order the book and find out the plot and all that sort of good stuff. And what do you hope people come away with in the book? What do you hope that they maybe learn from it, or maybe they're entertained, or what do you hope people come away with the book after they read it?
I think a little bit of history and some of it's education that actually happened in 1850s. Mm-hmm. But there is one error I made in there, and I should correct it. When I mentioned the Colt, 51 Colt that the sheriff had was a 6-shooter. No, it wasn't.
Uh-oh.
It was a, it was a cap and ball. Because they didn't come out with the 6-shooter until in the 60s.
They're probably going to have you're probably going to get some emails on that.
I don't know. I might now because I told everybody about it.
Yeah, you might do that. It's funny. We have so many novelists on the show, like yourself, that write books, and they'll always tell me, they're like, it's funny. My audience will find all the mistakes and errors in the book, and they'll write me and tell me about them, or sometimes they'll tell me stuff that they think about the characters. Like one of my good friends, Jance, is on the show later. She has about, 80 or 90 books now. Wow. And she's a really successful novelist. She's been doing it for, I think, 40 or 50 years. And so she was telling me that one of her characters, drank, and he was a detective. And she didn't realize it, but her audience did. Her audience would come to her at book events and say, "Do you realize that your protagonist, your sheriff guy, is that's drinking all the time? He's an alcoholic. You realize that, don't you?" And she had an alcoholic first husband, and she didn't realize that she'd basically blueprinted that. But she didn't realize that her character was an alcoholic. Her audience did. And so then she had to realize that, hey, he really is an alcoholic. And you start writing that he's an alcoholic. So it's kind of funny how the audience tends to chime in on these things and make things better for the authors.
Yeah, I guess you got to just tell it like it is,
Tell it like it is.
Like the character, you got to. In my book, it's basically everything's all dreamed up, imagination. Mm-hmm. So I had to create these characters. Had to come, give them names, and I had to go ahead and basically give them what type of work they were doing in town. So. Sure. With that said, I had to create them, and I had to make them look, let's say, effective.
Make them look effective. Yeah, good stuff. So, what are some of the things that you've enjoyed, and maybe favorite scenes that are in your novel?
Oh, the favorite scenes. Mm-hmm. There were times when they found Gerald. See, most of those murders were actually like duplicated to what kind of craftsmen they were. Mm-hmm. And Gerald, he was hung in his own barn, and he was actually a butcher, right? Okay. Yeah. The second one was a guy named, I got Hank on my mind, but he's third. The second one was, I'll get back to that one.
Okay.
The third one was Hank, and he was in the barber shop. And he was basically somewhat mutilated in his own barber chair.
Ow. That's going to leave a mark.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the I don't know, any word that would actually describe that, a good word, efficient word. Huh. But it's something that I actually invented
the word?
to go ahead and make sure that it was actually...
As we go out, give people a pitch to pick up the book, order it wherever fine books are sold, and your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, of course, I'm at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Mm-hmm. And there are a few bookstores, which I have listed, but I didn't have it ready for the program.
People can find it. They can search your stuff online. Alan, it's been wonderful to have you on the show to talk about your amazing book and your insights. I think everyone's going to be excited to pick it up, read it, and get involved with it and all that good stuff. Did we get your .coms? I can't remember if we got the .com there.
Yeah, you got my website.
Okay, and that will be on the show as well, so people can check that out there.
Okay.
So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of got to excuse me on my how slow I go.
No problem at all.
I got this busting headache behind my head.
Oh, check it out, folks. Wherever fine books are sold. The Town's Nightmare, out January 9th, 2023. Alan R. Martin has been on the show with us today. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one of the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time. And that should have us out.